Hey guys, it's Not Lammers of Invoked 101, and today I wanted to talk about casual versus competitive versus just a bad player. And we'll go down like a list of like kind of what makes you competitive and what makes you casual and what makes a bad player and how you can find bad players for yourself. So, or maybe discover if you're a bad player. So, the first thing about a competitive player, let's talk about competitive and what makes a player competitive. Competitive players don't always play the best deck. They're not always going, oh, this is the best deck in the set, this is the best deck. They just invest more into the resources and play the best build of their deck, in my opinion. A competitive deck doesn't mean anything. Just because a deck is competitively viable doesn't mean every competitive player is going to play it. A competitive player could play something like Madolche. A competitive player would run Brilliant Fusion and the Orphis Scorpio in Madolches, while a casual player might not run those cards. They might run a more pure Madolche build. A competitive player also is one of those kind of guys who's always down at locals. You see him down at locals, or you see him going to regionals, going to events, talking about events, and just playing as best as they can, and they play to win, really. They want to play the game and they play to win. And that's kind of how you can find a competitive player. But usually, yes, they are playing more of a meta deck, or something like that. So, let's talk about a more casual player now. A more casual player, I feel, plays a deck that is more linear in theme. A casual player doesn't necessarily, they still play to win, but they don't exactly invest as much time into the game as perhaps a competitive player. A casual player plays a bit more for fun, or plays with a more of a group of people that they might know, but does attend locals when they can, I guess. I see a casual player as more of someone who is informed about the game and understands how it works and is okay at the game, but doesn't play as hardcore as a competitive player. They aren't. That's not to say a casual player can't play True Draco, or they can't play Invoked or something like that. It just might be a different build than what a competitive player has. I always one thing about casual players that I've noticed is that a lot of them don't necessarily use hand traps, and that's not a bad thing. I think that casual players not using hand traps is fine, especially if you're just playing with a group of friends. Like me and my friends, we used to be casuals, playing at the lunch table at school, and not many of us had hand traps, and even then, the ones who did get hand traps kind of went on to be more competitive later on, including myself. So I see casual play, and another thing, this is kind of straight from my casual days, whenever I would build a deck back when I was casual, I would always build it or try to keep it more pure, I guess, than like say a competitive player would like splice in like an engine or something. Like I definitely played an engine or two in my deck, but I didn't like trick it out with a bunch of different ones or whatever. Like it was definitely a more pure build that stuck within the archetype. Now a bad player is, and we can take a direct quote here. I got a quote from a bad player would describe these other two as: a competitive player is someone who is a tier 0 meta sheep, always plays the best deck, never does anything, always going to an event. Like that's how a bad player would describe them. They're tier 0 meta sheep, they only play the best decks, they sink too much money into the game. And a casual player would be, because most bad players do see themselves as casual, which kind of is a little sad for the real casual players. Like I know my girlfriend, she's a casual player, and her friend down at the college, he's also a casual player, but both of them are well informed about the game. So saying that a bad player, or saying that bad players fall into the category of casual, is kind of bad, and I think we need to find a new word for what bad players are outside of bad players or casual. And the thing about bad players is they see themselves as casual, so it's like they'll be like, oh well, casuals only play for fun, they play for this, they play for that, they don't play meta decks. But the thing is, bad players only say this because they try to they say, and they use the excuse, oh, I'm budget, or oh, like, I think a lot of budget players can fall into either category in my opinion, but I definitely think they're more casual when it comes. I think it's easier to be casual on a budget than it is to be competitive on a budget. So a lot of these budget players also get a bad rap because a lot of these bad players are like, oh well, I'm on a budget, so I have to play this card or this card. Like why would you play, like, it's all comes down to card choice when it comes to a bad player. Like, there was a player who put Jackpot 7 into Super Heavy Samurai, and I told him, I was like, hey, I want a legit reason why you put these in here. Don't give me the I'm casual, or I play for fun, or I'm a budget player as an excuse, because those aren't excuses for poor card choice. Being casual is not an excuse for poor card choice. If you pick a bad card to put into your deck, you are a bad player. If you're playing cards that 100% hinder your strategy, such as Jackpot 7 and Super Heavy Samurai, you are a bad player. No matter what your excuse is, you can't have an excuse if you put a single spell card in. Okay, maybe a single spell card, because like some Super Heavies are like weird. Like that draw card, you can put that in there. But yeah, I don't get why these bad players are defending their bad card choice with like oh, I'm budget, or oh, I'm casual, so it's okay. That doesn't make it okay. Being bad, like, you will know a bad player when you see a bad player. Usually they have, like, casuals. I think when you see you know a casual player when you see a casual player. It's someone who knows about the game, but they're actually like trying to play. A bad and they know how their deck built, or like if you talk to them about like, why are you playing this card? They go, oh well, I'm playing this card because it's kind of like this other card, but I don't have that other card because it's expensive, something like that. That's more of a casual or a budget player's perspective. A bad player will tell you, oh, I'm playing this card because it's fun. Why is it fun if it loses you the game? So let's kind of recap like what the difference are real quick, because I don't want to go on and on in this video. I don't want it to be super long. I just wanted to put up a quick little video for you guys, so we'll recap real quick. So a bad player, we'll use the Mech Knights. Let's use Mech Knights because I like them. A competitive player will look at Mech Knights and say, this is a cool engine for a deck. I wonder what deck I can put these cards into. A casual player will look at Mech Knights and go, I wonder how I can build this as a pure control variant and what cards I can put in there to help supplement it. You know? A bad player will look at Mech Knights and go, huh, what? and probably write them off because they all have the 2 monsters in the column summoning condition and they're all high levels. A bad player will go, huh, Mech Knights, they're light psychic, but they don't synchro. So a competitive player will run Brilliant Fusion in Madolches. A casual player will run something like Double Summon, or not run. Well, I guess neither. Well, the competitive player will run Orphis Scorpio, and the casual player will not run Orphis Scorpio. They'll run something else. They'll run more Madolches. But yeah, so that's and then the bad player will run, like, I don't know, they'll run like Madolche Volcanic. Anyway, that's been my video on my take of competitive and casual and bad players. But yes, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.